Hey everybody, welcome to Live Coding with Jesse. I'm Jesse, and today I want to do a recap of the project that we just launched and go over like how we did it, the decisions that we made, why we made them, and then talk a little bit about the next steps for what's going to happen. I also have some nice analytics to share with you, just about how well the site's doing, and so we're not really going to do a lot of coding right now. It's going to be more like just kind of overview. Also, feel free to ask questions. Definitely open to questions. And also, I want to give you a little update on like my situation for work and everything, because there's going to be some changes coming up. So that's the plan for today. Sorry for the short notice on the stream too. I was just really busy and didn't. I wanted to stream, but I didn't get it scheduled early enough. So there may have been some issues with notifications not being received. But hopefully, looks like there's a lot of you in the stream. So I'm hoping that everything worked with the notifications. Okay. So first, let me explain some of the changes. Right, I don't want to leave anybody in suspense. Right, so. I am most likely going to be leaving my position right now at the university and finding employment somewhere else. So if you follow me on social media, you probably already know this. I've received already, thankfully, a lot of not direct offers, but a lot of invitations to apply to places and offers from people to recommend me. So I'm very grateful for that, and thank you so much to everyone who retweeted my tweet or shared it on Instagram or on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for that. The response and the reach that got is just amazing, and I'm very, very grateful. Thank you so much for that. So I don't know where I'll be at, and I'm not sure how quickly I'll be leaving here. So for now, I guess I'll still be working on this project, and I'm still gonna do my stream. So I'm gonna keep doing my stream, and then depending on what position I get, we'll just have to see. I'd love to keep doing the stream. It may be that I won't be able to stream my everyday work, but I'll have to stream a side project. And it may be, maybe the stream has to move to like a Saturday, or maybe it's going to be in the evenings instead of in the morning. So, so there probably going to be some changes to the stream, but not just yet. I'll still be streaming. Although next week I may not be able to stream that much, because I will be at React training in Washington, D.C. So I'm excited about that, to learn some new stuff. So just to give you a little heads up too about why this is happening. So as most of you know who have watched the stream, this project we've been working on since January has launched. It launched like 3 weeks ago. But if you go to the website now, if you go to the URL, you'll see the old website. So unfortunately, somebody higher up in the organization, for some reason unknown to me, didn't like the website and instructed the IT department to change it back to the old website. And this was all without consulting me. So at this point, I don't know what the problem was. I have some guesses, but that's just based on stuff I've heard from other people. So I don't know why the site was taken down. I've gotten no attempt to contact me to explain anything or to ask me to change anything. As we'll see in a second, the site was definitely meeting the requirements and surpassing them. It was, based on the analytics, it was already hitting our goals for what we wanted the site to do. And as far this person that made the call didn't even look at the analytics. from everything I understand about it, the call was made without that. So, and this person's actually somewhat new to the organization and hasn't even been involved in the process. So this is pretty like kind of disturbing to me. And so, I mean, that was okay. It was definitely a hit to the ego. But what really pushed me over the edge is just the way it all happened. From what I understand, the people who did actually get to talk to this person say he was not very nice about the whole thing. Treated people in a way that no one should be treated, right? So, given that, I just don't feel comfortable being around if one of the main people in charge is treating people like that. So, what I'll do is I'm going to try to make sure that people know about it. Hopefully somebody will do something about it. But at the end of the day, it's not an environment that I want to be in. So while I'm still here, I'm going to do whatever I can to try to make it better for the people that are staying. But then I got to get out. It's so like personally, I struggle with depression, anxiety, and things. So I've been not feeling very good the last couple of days. I'm pretty calm now. I actually have a really bad headache, so when I get anxiety, usually that caffeine makes it worse. So I totally cut caffeine out yesterday, and I've been getting these headaches. I think maybe I was drinking too much caffeine, and now I'm going through withdrawal. So my head hurts so bad right now. But I know, based on my past experience, situations like this could make me have a panic attack, so I don't want to chance that. So I'm just trying to be as calm as I can and just keep doing what I'm doing. Talking to people about new job opportunities and, thinking about, okay, how do I want to work my resume? I'm thinking about maybe redoing my personal website since I haven't touched it in years. Been talking with my wife about what we want to do and been thinking about ways to just address the situation in the most professional way possible. Without the way I see, there are several options. Like, I could freak out and be very unprofessional about this, or I could just try to hide. And I don't want to do either, right? I don't want to hide because I don't want this to happen to other people in the organization. And I don't want to freak out because that'll probably make things worse. So I'm trying to find a middle ground to get the word out in a very logical way to the people that need to know, and make a good case for not only this site but for for making sure that people are treated with respect. So I anyway, and it was just one person, right? So this is not like a huge organizational thing. I generally, over my 3 years here, 99% of people have been very friendly, just even over the top, like beyond what you'd expect people to be. So this is a new individual here. Unfortunately, they have a lot of authority. So I don't really know this person. I haven't even gotten a chance to know them. So I'm not even sure what to think about it, other than it shouldn't, no one should ever treat another person like that. Okay, so let's get on to the site. Some happier stuff. I'm actually still, I'm really proud of this site, despite what this other person may think. Objectively speaking, we did a good job with this site. The technology is sound. It's somewhat cutting edge. I think we accomplished what our goals were, right? So if someone wanted to disagree with what the goals were in the first place, that's understandable. They could do that. But in terms of, does this website meet the goals? Does it fulfill the requirements of the project? I think most definitely it does. So let's check out the analytics first. And let me give you, if you're not sure what website I'm talking about, this is the one that we built. I still have it up at a test link that I had running anyway, so I never took down the test link. And I just want to say hi. I see a lot of activity in the chat, so let me switch up to this screen. Y'all can see it for a second, and I just want to say hello to everyone. So hey, I see there are some questions. I'll get to some of the more like technical questions in a second, but I want to answer any questions that have to do with what we just talked about first. Carl asked if I'd still have my live stream. No matter what, I do want to try as hard as I can to keep doing this live stream. As long as you all think that it's valuable to you and to the community, I want to keep doing it. Yeah, Steven says, so no feedback, no mock-up changes. What the heck? Yeah, I mean it's an unprecedented situation. I've never had this happen before. For someone to be dissatisfied with your work, but then give absolutely no feedback. Marius says, thank you for being open and saying as it is. You're welcome. I just, especially for you all that have been with me here through this project for so long, I want you all to know what's really going on, when I say this, even though this is live and anybody could watch it, like, it doesn't feel like I'm just announcing this to the public, right? Like, we've all been together, many of us for, well over a year working on projects, so we have a community here, we have a team here, so you all deserve to know why the work that some of you have actually contributed code and many of you contributed ideas, so this is all very much our work, why it's not there anymore. Anna says, that person acts very mature. We are supporting you in your decision. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Okay. All right, so let's check out then some of the analytics, and then maybe we'll see what it looks like in terms of questions in there, maybe go over some stuff. So I'm going to make this as big as I can, but here's the analytics that I was impressed. I was honestly surprised at how good some of these numbers were. I mean, I know it's one thing to have an idea and a plan and know, have a good idea that it will work, and it's another thing to actually see the results. So I'm going to go over these really quick, especially for those of you who are just listening and can't read this. I took the analytics and I actually removed Steubenville, the city that the university is in, from the results, right? Because the target audience is not people already on campus, and most of our students don't actually come from Steubenville. So we removed Steubenville completely. So I compared the same time period in 2017 to the time period the website was live, because we're trying to track like applications, and that's very cyclical. So the only way to be fair about it is the same time period in that same year, right? So we had 67% decrease in page load times, right, which was expected, right? We knew it was going to be a lot faster. Homepage, even greater decrease. The next number I think is really important. So we're targeting prospective students, right? We want them to come to our website, want them to apply to learn more about this university. So Google Analytics doesn't let you, it doesn't show you data specifically about people under 25, but you can tell because if you just take the total number of visits minus all the visits from the age groups they do give you data from, which starts at 25 and goes up to however high somebody can live to, then we can get a better idea of, okay, well, the group that's left over is younger than 25. They are most likely majority made up of people who are in that group, that age group of our target audience. So anyway, we have a 48% increase in people visiting our site from that age group, which is great, because that's what we had in mind the entire time. We had an increase in visits to the application of 7% increase, which is a really nice increase. I need to get the data on the inquiry form too. I forgot to do that, but that's also an important form that we were trying to drive people to. We actually had a big increase in the time spent on the homepage, which is interesting because the old homepage was huge. It took a long time to load, partly because there's so much content. I mean, very small text, images, videos everywhere, and you could scroll for 3 days through it. It was long. You can see it now at the main website. The old website is back online now. But the interesting thing is we got rid of all that and had a very minimal, simplistic homepage, and we had an increase of the time spent on the homepage by 48%. And from just looking at that at face value, kind of trying to figure out why, I think the busyness of the old homepage was a turnoff. It was overwhelming. And when we actually broke it down and only showed people some very important facts, they stayed and they read those. So there may be other ways to interpret that, but that seems like a pretty good way to kind of view that statistic to me. And it's almost counterintuitive, right? We gave them less content, and then they ended up spending more time on the page. Also, I'm not going to go through every department, but one of the big things we wanted to do is show that we have good academic programs here. We are a Catholic school, and we have a well-known reputation for being Catholic. So based on our market research, we already know that people don't doubt that. But what people doubt is our academics. They don't know if we're actually good academically. So there are students that would like to come here because they're Catholic students and they want to be here, but they're not sure they'll get a good education here. So what we were trying to do is appeal to those students by showcasing our academic programs right on the homepage. And we succeeded in bringing in more people. So you could see the Master's in Theology had a bit of an increase. Some of these, like theology program, had a 275% increase in traffic to that page. So you can see just some of the other programs here. Some really big numbers here. Huge increases. So, based on these analytics, I think we definitely succeeded in our goals for this website, right? And this was just really the first phase. I mean, you all know there are so many ideas for what we wanted to do that are going to come later on, or were going to come later on, probably not now. So really, this is comparing a site that had already gone through a whole year of development from a whole agency working on it. I'm talking about the old site. And then years of development after that, comparing it to a site that just came out. And, basically we've done, just kind of me and you all have done for less than a year, launched it, and had very little time to make any improvements, and we still had these kind of numbers. I mean, to me, I think that's very impressive. I'm proud of it. I think you all should be proud of it because you're a big part of it. So no matter what happens with this site, this is a successful site, and the data shows it. You can't argue the numbers. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you. Because I think it's just so impressive, and all the thought that we put into the site, and everything, it paid off. Okay, I guess I don't need to show anything right now. Let's just put this in the background because we're just going to talk about stuff for a little bit. So I'm going to take a little bit of time right now to answer some of the questions that you have. And then we're going to dive into some of the technology. Just to refresh your mind in case you haven't been watching these streams, this was built with React, with NextJS. We're using Apollo, GraphQL. We use Node, WordPress for the content management system with the WP GraphQL plugin. We have Algolia now for search, which I did finish and implemented. So you can try out the search now. It's way faster. We're using Google Cloud Platform to host most of this, Cloud SQL, and what do we have? Cloud SQL, the cloud storage bucket, and we're using App Engine to host the React app. We're using DigitalOcean for the WordPress application, or the WordPress installation. So all those technologies went into this. So if you have questions about any of those technologies, why we use them or anything, feel free to put them in there now. I can go into a lot more detail about it. Hey, Harshit's here, and we'll only be around here for a few minutes. Says, now all we need is a good SVG loader for the loading screen. Yeah, for sure. I thought about that the other night. You know, sometimes you just think about a project at nighttime, you're not even working on it. It just occurred to me, like, we still have the words loading come up when you're loading. Like, we never actually put a real loader in there. And we did on the search page. So I thought, well, at the very least, we can just grab what we did on the search page and then put that in for the loader on all the other pages in place of the words loading. So that'll probably be on the list. But once again, I don't really know how much more work I'll be doing on this, unfortunately, because, you know, we still had a lot of good things that could have been done. So I'm going to scroll up and answer some questions here. Seti said, is it possible to build a Kickstarter clone with React.js? Oh, most definitely. Yeah. You can definitely do that in React. I think probably any site on the internet could be redone in React, because it's JavaScript and HTML and CSS, which is what everything's built out of. It doesn't even matter what the back end is, really. So you could remake really anything, you know, any UI, you know, whatever, in React components. Romani says, how to make a big web app with React. I mean, if you're going to make something a big one, you can definitely do it with React. I would just, if it's going to be really large, structure is important. So in that case, I would most definitely think about reusability of your components, so like your actual code base can remain small and easy to work with. Sometimes in smaller projects, and I know we've done it in this project sometimes, is we'll say, you know what, we could really refactor this and reuse it, but let's just get this done quick and do it. And then you may or may not ever go back and redo that. Now, if the project starts to grow and grow and grow, that could really make things difficult to navigate, and your project could just balloon and your code base gets huge. So I would be more if you know right up off the bat it's going to be a very big project, then you should be more careful about things like that. Like, how are you going to handle that structure and things like that, and make sure that that's all planned out, so that you don't have those moments where you just say, you know, we could do it like this, but it'll be faster to do this. You know, you can get away with that when it's not that large, but on a large application, it could, down the road, not be good for you. So if you have any, this is kind of really like a large topic, so if you have any specific questions, you know, please let me know. DIY Coder says, the work is really good, appreciate this hard work, but using React for making website, is this overkill, or is this the way to do it? Yeah, I mean, you could say this is overkill. We definitely, you know, we could have built this website using something else, right? You could, I would say this though, like, I have no idea how I would have worked out all the routing for this if we were doing this in, let's say, just plain JavaScript, and I had to do, like, I don't know, I used like jQuery to do custom routing. It would have been insane. It's already insane using, you know, React. State management would have been a huge problem. So this website in particular, we had so much content coming over. Like, let's just say, for instance, I tried to do it in WordPress. That also would have been a huge thing in terms of making sure all the URLs work right. Um, it would have been. I think it would have been very challenging and difficult to do this in other ways. So in this particular case, even though it's just a website, being able to use React and the whole React ecosystem helped me a lot. But you're right, normally for a website, React is potentially overkill. Although, to be honest with you, if you use Create React App to start up a website really quickly, it's really easy to build out a site with React. Potentially even easier than if you were to just do a straight HTML, CSS, vanilla JavaScript site. Okay? Now it depends. Like if you're not used to React, of course, React is going to be really difficult. But it's so the barrier to entry for React is so low now, and that's a good thing. That it doesn't feel like overkill, right, to build anything in React. So, so I would say for a regular website, it potentially could be overkill, but it's not, it's not the end of the world, right? If you're going to do something in React. At least that's the way I feel, right? It all depends on your project, what the resources are, how much time you're going to take, and what your level of ability is with it, right? And I'm sorry if I'm not as with it as I normally am. It's just my headache is. I try to take some painkillers, and my headache is not getting better at all. Limbala says, I'm new here. Thanks in advance for sharing. I'm in need of inspiration to study on. Oh, well, thank you so much for watching and welcome. And for inspiration, I don't know. I would just say, honestly, keep at it, keep getting better every day. You'll be amazed at how far you've come in a month, in a year. You'll look back and it'll be like, wow, I couldn't even think about doing what I'm doing now a year ago. You'll hit that moment and it feels really good. All right. Anoop says, which is better, Angular or React? It definitely someone wants the old website link. I'm going to type it in right now. Okay, so the old website, which is now live in place of this one, I just linked here. So you can check out the old website. It may take a while to load. All right. Okay, so the question was Angular versus React. It all depends on your situation, on your project, on what you're good with. You can build really awesome things or really terrible things with either one. The way to go is just look at the strengths and weaknesses of React and Angular and look at what you need to do for your project and the strengths and weaknesses you have or your team has. And then you pick which you have to pick. So it's not an answer that you can give a blanket answer over everything, right? It definitely depends on specifics. Hopefully that makes sense. I know it doesn't help. It's easier if you can just have this is the best thing, go with it, but that's not really how this works. Limbala says, trying to understand why NextJS is needed. Okay, the reason we went with NextJS is for server-side rendering. Okay, so if you're not familiar with NextJS, it works with React, right? So you run Next.js, it builds out the basics, bare bones of all your React project. It handles your Webpack config, and it gives you a basic like file structure, and it handles routing for you. In this case, we have custom routing, but normally it handles the routing for you. But what it does that is really awesome is server-side rendering by default. Why do we need server-side rendering? Because search engines won't be able to see your content, right? So they won't stick around long enough to wait to make the API call to get the data back and to display it on the page, right? All client side. But when you render on the server, what gets sent to the search engines when they come to your site, and to anybody else who comes to your site, they get HTML, CSS, right? All there. And then after that, what Next will do is offer client-side routing. So you really get the best of both worlds. You get that server-side routing for that really fast initial load time, and the ability for search engines to see your content. And then after that, you get that speed of it actually prefetches content, so that when a user clicks on a link, sometimes they actually have instantaneous load, so 0-second load time, because the data is already there. So really awesome, and definitely helps out, right? I would not want to have to handle all the stuff that it does in the background on my own. So they do a great job. It's updated so frequently, and it's very, very reliable. Zuber says, is this project going to be an app, React Native, XO app? Well, it's a progressive web app. So that's what we ended up building. Max says, is Python still a good idea to learn? Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of good work in machine learning happening with Python, as far as I know. So it depends on what you're into, what you want to work with, but Python is definitely worthwhile. Marcio says, hey Jesse, thank you for doing this. You're welcome. Great value. Question, how do I know that I'm ready to start learning a framework from your perspective, of course? If you have a good understanding of HTML, CSS, and at least basic JavaScript, then I would say go ahead and learn the framework, especially if there's a project that you want to use it with, you think it would be beneficial. It can definitely help. It can help you make some good stuff, faster than you would otherwise be able to. If there's a framework that would look really good on your resume, then that's a great bonus to be able to have that on there if you've worked with it. So just make sure though that you keep up your skills. So as you're using this framework, try not to get locked in too much. Depending on the framework, it's easier or harder to do that, but make sure your vanilla JavaScript skills still improve, right? Your CSS, HTML, it still improves. So as long as you're doing that and not really locking yourself in, I think you're fine. Of course, if you want to lock yourself in, go ahead and do it, but it may make it a bit harder down the road if that particular framework falls out of fashion. It may make it harder to switch if you don't keep up with some of the other stuff. Hopefully that answered your question. It says, Harsha, by the way, franciscan.edu going to the old site for me. Is it removed? Maybe I missed something at the beginning. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, let me paste this. So this is... Harsha, you did miss something. So if you want to, at some point, if you have time, go back and watch the first couple of minutes. But basically, the short story is the old website is back up, and the new website that we made has been taken down. But you can still see it at the link that I just pasted in. Michael Creel says, I want to watch live, but I really want to know what's happened since yesterday. So you go back. Can you go back and rewind and just watch the first 10 minutes and then come back? You can watch it on double speed and you'll catch up, I guess. Okay. Rushikesh. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing this, but they say, I'm just a beginner in web development. Before React, what should I learn or clear my basics? Yeah, HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Focus on those if you're a beginner, and you'll be fine with that. And then whenever you need to use a framework, and you start working on more complex things, when a framework will really help you, then jump into that framework. Phoenix says, hey Jesse, what's up? Congratulations. I guess I can say that now, right? Also, I saw your Instagram status. Was this a contract project? No. So I explain a lot of it in more detail in the first 10 minutes of the stream, but just, long story short, I'm going to leave my position. I'm most likely going to leave my position here at the university and find another job. So if you want to know why that's happening, watch the first 10 minutes of this video. Let's see. Zhang Zhao, I'm not sure I pronounced that. Apologies. Says, I'm currently only comfortable with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript for the front end part. How do I get the big picture when it comes to web development? Like, how does the front end talk to the back end? Yeah, I would say, probably look up some tutorials and courses. If you go through the free code camp lessons, at some point it transitions into that, after you learn a lot of the front end stuff. So that'll give you a good idea about how that part works. Yeah, so you don't have to go through everything, but if you just kind of skip to that part and kind of look over what's going on, that may give you a good idea about what to focus in on more, to be able to find some videos or tutorials about it. Zuber says, what database are you using? MySQL, WordPress API? Yeah, so we have MySQL, and we're using the REST API, and actually, are we even using that anymore? I think we're all GraphQL now. We did use the REST API for search, but now we switched to Algolia for search, so now I think we're using GraphQL with WordPress. So we used a plugin called WP GraphQL to be able to use GraphQL with it. Michael Creel says, there's no such thing as just a website. Yeah. It's always more. It's really hot in my office, so I'm going to turn my fan on low. So if it's too noisy, let me know. But it's insanely hot, so I just need a little fan there. Swan says, hey Jesse, why have you chose React instead of Polymer or Vue.js, for example? Okay, really good question. So let's see. I don't know very much at all about Polymer, so it wasn't even really on my radar as a possibility. I knew a little bit about Vue, but I had never used it before on a project. And when we first started working on this project, the timeline was very condensed. We ended up getting a very big extension on the timeline. A lot of the reasons for that are determined by people, higher up above me in the organization. So when we initially started, I needed to go with something that I already knew. And we had already built several things in React. We already had a lot of code that I knew I could reuse. So that's why we ended up going with React. Had I had all the time in the world to learn and try something else, I'm not sure if I would have gone with React. I think it definitely worked in this situation. So I'm not saying React was the absolute best way to go for this, but given the constraints of the project, it was the way to go for us for this project. Limbala says, what you just said there helps me a lot. Oh, awesome. Really glad I could help. Nodie says, you may not remember me, but I do remember you. You may not remember me, but last year I used to pop on these streams, and you inspired me to take programming. What a year! I'm now a semi-software engineer working in a real React project. Oh, awesome! I'm so glad you came back and told me that. And I remember the name at least of you coming in here and talking. So that's so cool. I love it whenever I hear things like that. So that's really awesome. If you get a chance, pop back in sometime and let me know how your project's going. Nizar says, "How are you?" Uh, I'm okay. I'm okay. I've been better. A lot of stuff going on right now. You can watch the first 10 minutes of this video if you want to know more about what's happening. But like right now, I have a really, really bad headache. It just keeps getting worse. So, but other than that, I guess I can't complain. I got a great wife and 4 healthy children, and so I shouldn't complain. you know, it could be a lot worse. DIY Coder says, yes, component reuse is a huge plus, and routing also. Yeah, for sure. Definitely agree with that. Harshit says, Algolia search for now. It is going to be expensive. Let's see. Oh, I lost my place. It's going to be expensive. Monitor your cost there. Yeah, Harshit. So right now I'm just on the Essentials plan, so the lowest paid plan. And since the site's not live, it's not going to be a big deal for now. But yeah, for the time that it was live, I was trying to monitor it. Sorry. Ugh. I lost my train of thought. I'm really sorry. Oh, when the site was live, I had my dashboard for Algolia up all the time on all my computers, so I always knew it was happening. Lisa E says, feel better. Thank you. I appreciate it. Amon Learns Code says, hi there. Have a nice day, everyone. Hey, how's it going? Thanks. I hope you have a nice day as well. Phoenix says, also, since the time I started working on my blog site, I've had a ton of learning, and the things that can go wrong are endless. Also, it's now that I realize how important a good documentation is. Yeah, documentation is good. I often slack on the documentation myself, but that's a good point. Limbala says, wow, awesome, I really needed this. Cool, I'm glad you like this. Karabo says the old site looks dated. It does. It really does. It was very surprising to me when they switched back, because it was pretty much unanimous from everybody I talked to that they did not like the old site. So, and it was pretty much the consensus that like anything would be an improvement as long as it was faster. So yeah, I was very surprised by it. Harshit says, I just remember, did you enable Material UI CSS minification before prod? Command U in the page and check. If not, that will speed the page up by another 5%. Oh, okay. That is a good tip. I don't recall ever doing that. Let's see. Sources, styles. No, that's not it. Where would our No, it's not. I'm wondering, like, where are bundled styles coming from? I don't think it's this. No, that's not it. This is our just tiny bit of CSS, which actually I didn't minify that either. Anyway, I don't know how to check that out, but that's good. And see, that's the thing too. Like, the site was very fast, and we done almost nothing to optimize the speed, right? Like, even the images aren't optimized. We didn't run them through image compression or anything like that. It was just it was fast. So all that stuff was going to come later, but shaving so much time off that load time by switching the site was worth it, even if it wasn't completely as 100% optimized as it could be. It was still really good. Amon Learns Code says, I've heard about Koa.js. Can you explain the purpose of this technology briefly? Thanks. To tell you the truth, I don't really know very much at all about Koa, so I am sorry about that, but I don't know enough to give a good explanation. If anybody else knows anything about Koa, please let me know. Roland says, what is React? I don't have any idea of this. React is a JavaScript library for building web apps, and you can build other things with it too. Yeah, that's pretty... It's like the basic concept of React. So it helps you to build websites and web apps, and it's very helpful with things like state management. Harshit says, oh, okay, it says Koa.js server-side framework built by the same people working on Express. Jesse might not know about it because he mostly does front-end. You're absolutely right. Koa is used for making performant APIs. Okay, cool. Thanks, Harshit. Matt Dutch says, good morning, all. Good morning. Thank you for watching and stuffing in the live chat. Limbala says, is Access FUS part of the same app or completely separate app? It is completely separate. So it's actually run by an entirely different company, different service, everything. I don't have access to it, although I was able to send a style sheet to this company and have them upload it. So I was able to adjust the styles a bit, make it a little bit more like material design style, and but that was about it. It's pretty limited. Matt Justice says, best of luck in your transition, Jesse. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Roland says, I'm curious about React Node, something like that, even though I don't know any of those. Yeah, React is a JavaScript library to build things, like mainly like on the client side, like front end stuff. Node is using JavaScript on the back end, so server side JavaScript. AISH says GraphQL. So GraphQL, it's a query language, right? So normally, if you wanted to get, well, there's several ways to get data, right? But one way to get data to your front end is to use an API, right? And the standard right now is kind of like REST APIs. It's like a method of creating an API and getting data from it. But the latest thing is GraphQL. And the main difference is with a REST API, you pre-build these API endpoints, and when you send a request to that endpoint, you will get back a certain amount of data in a certain structure based on what was already pre-made for that endpoint to give you. In GraphQL, when you send the request, you tell GraphQL exactly what data you want, and it sends you back just that data, all right? No more, no less. So you can end up making less API calls because right? You don't have to hit multiple endpoints to get all the data you want, and then the total amount of data that gets transferred is less because you just get what you want. So it is, in that respect, GraphQL is most definitely better than a REST API. In terms of how you build it on the back end, I don't know enough about that to really know the pros and cons of it all. But that's kind of, I guess, the most concise way I can put, what is GraphQL? What is the difference between GraphQL and a REST API? Roland says, where can I learn PHP? A lot of places, I guess. Maybe if you're really new, try out like Codecademy. They have these like interactive courses. I've done some of their courses before. I'm almost positive they have a PHP course, so I would check that out first. Michael says, okay, I'll watch later from the beginning. Just don't burn any bridges that you might need later. It's always darkest before the dawn. That is good advice. I appreciate that. Thanks, Michael. Matt Dutcher says, oh, feel better, Jesse. I hope so. And thanks for saying that. Limbala says, health and long life to you all. Thank you. Thank you, and you too. John F. says, how did FreeCodeCamp contact you about streaming here? I started doing live streaming on my own channel, and I did a few live streams, and I knew that I didn't really know what I was doing. So I posted in the FreeCodeCamp forum a link to my live streams, and I asked if anybody would be able to give me advice on how to do a better job. And Bo Carnes, who does a ton of awesome JavaScript tutorial videos for FreeCodeCamp, contacted me and asked if I'd be interested in live coding for FreeCodeCamp. And then shortly afterwards, I also talked to Quincy, who's the head of FreeCodeCamp. And then I started doing live streams, and they went well. People watched them. Quincy and Bo liked them, so here I am. still doing the streams. Let's see. Marcio says, thanks for answering my questions. I hope you keep doing this kind of live question and answer. Take some Advil and rest. Thanks for that advice. I think I probably will just go home after this stream and relax a little bit. Nodie says, yes, I'll pop back more often. I can now start to understand what was going on, unlike last year. Thank you. All right, cool. Very cool. Steven says, hey, Jesse, I Twitter messaged you. Austin, Texas has a ton of React jobs available. Indeed, Uship, Rooster Teeth, etc. all here. Oh, really cool. Thank you so much. Jang Zhao says, hope you feel better. If you have time, exercise helps. Yeah, that's true. I didn't get my regular workout in today or yesterday. So I need to work out like today, or else it's definitely gonna impact my mental health if I quit with my workouts. AISH says, is routing there in both React and Node.js? Yes. So we have both server-side and client-side routing. Steven says, plus pay is way higher in Austin. Yeah, that's for sure. Well, one thing is I'm almost guaranteed to be paid more at a new position than I am paid here. Higher education doesn't especially at a non-profit institution, doesn't really pay as well as other industries. Limbala says, is there a video where you talk much about price to maintain an app this size? Yeah, so an app like this right now, and while it was live, I believe we were spending maybe like $500 a month on all the hosting and everything that goes with that. And that 500, it might have been a little bit overkill because I didn't want the site to go down or slow up. So it potentially, after the site had been live for a while and we could check the analytics and fine tune things, we might have been able to get that cost down a little bit more. But that cost includes a droplet on DigitalOcean, Cloud SQL database and Google Cloud Platform, also on Google Cloud Platform, App Engine instances, and storage buckets. And then included with that cost is also the cost of the Algolia search service. There are a few other things I wanted to add in that would have cost more. So I wanted to add in Sentry for error tracking, and I also wanted to add a CDN. So those would have brought the price up a bit more, maybe another $100 or so, maybe 200, depending on the traffic. Steven says, G Fuel Coffee. I know I'm trying to cut out caffeine, but man, maybe I should just give in and use some caffeine. Changyon Song, sorry about the name, says, hello, it's 2 a.m. in Korea. First time to watch a live and ask a question. What would you recommend to study before learning React? Says, if someone already asked, sorry for answering this again. Yeah, no problem. It's I learn HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And that's all you need before you learn React. Harshit says, just watch the first 10 minutes, feel better. Thank you, I appreciate it. Emiliano says, hi Jesse, here from Argentina, greetings. Hey, how's it going? Thanks for watching. Shedrack says, greetings from Nigeria. Let's see. Changyeon says, thanks. Actually, I'm studying JavaScript, but was just wondering if there's more. Yeah, no, JavaScript's good, and then you should be able to jump into React. It'll take a little time to get used to it, but if you're solid with JavaScript, then, go ahead and jump in. Let's see. I'm not sure how to pronounce this. But anyway, it says, which framework should I use for backend? I don't know. I mean, I like Express. Would you consider Express a framework? I'm not really sure what to call it, but I usually use Node and Express. I mean, it really just depends on like a lot of factors for what you're trying to do. Which course is better? Today's generation? I'm not exactly sure what you're asking, so maybe clarify that a little bit, please, and I can answer. Harshit's saying click view source. Of course. Why wouldn't I remember view source? Because I only use view source when I accidentally click it when I'm trying to hit inspect. And yeah, it looks like it's not even minified. Well, that's awesome. I'm actually really happy about that because that means we can make this even faster. Cool. Phoenix says, I would like this opportunity to thank you for all these streams that you did. I stumbled on this on my worst times, and I have been better and hooked ever since. Oh, thank you for saying that. I'm so glad that this stream has helped you out, and thanks for being here. I know you contribute a lot to the chat and things. I really appreciate that. Swan says, first, thanks for answering my question. I watched the part where you explained why you quit. Be strong, man. You're amazing. I hope you know it. That guy's just allergic to intellect. Good luck. Cool. Yeah, I actually didn't quit yet. So like I'm in my office right now. So I'm gonna be here for a little while longer. So I have no idea how much longer. It depends, I guess, on when I find something else and what happens. I don't think that I'm gonna get fired over anything. But yeah, so I don't know exactly how long I'll be here, but I haven't exactly quit yet. But it's not a secret that I'm looking for other employment. The head of my department knows. There's actually other people at the university that are helping me look for new work. So it's I'm okay talking about it. Phoenix says, you are also one of the major reasons that I went ahead and love development. The way you just dive into new tech framework and then make things work is amazing. Thanks. I really appreciate that. They don't always work, but Sometimes we try things out and it doesn't work, but yeah, it's fun. I mean, this work is awesome. It's so fun. You get to try new things all the time, and even if it doesn't work, like it's still fun and you learn something, right? And a lot of times it does work, and it's really awesome. I want to learn CSS3 to a dope level. From where should I learn it? Um, Hey, well, I mean, you could. It depends on where you're at right now. If you're just starting out, check out the free code camp lessons. If you're a little bit more advanced, then I don't really know. There's probably some good CSS books, videos. I don't know if there's online tutorials for advanced CSS. Hmm. I'm not exactly sure. If anybody has any, that if you know of any really advanced CSS tutorials, please let us know in the chat or in the comments if you're watching this later. Um, Donchi says, "Hey Jesse, what do you think about the Python framework Django for web development? Thank you in advance. Keep up the good work." I don't know very much at all about Django. I've heard of it, and that's about it. So apologies for that. I just don't know enough to give you a good answer. Limbala says $500. Ouch. Thanks for the detailed answer. Yeah, I mean, 500 is I would say not that much at all for a larger organization. I mean, like the university employs like 400 or 500 people. So for an organization that size, $500 a month is not really that much. We probably spend more than that on water, electricity, internet, like pretty much every other thing that we have. Uh, Wa- Warriors, I'm really sorry. I'm having trouble pronouncing this. War, Waru? Sorry. It says, "Hey Jesse, I'm experienced with React.js, Node.js, and MongoDB. How do I come up with ideas for side projects that have potential to generate income in the future and become my own startup?" Um, I don't know. That's if I knew a really good answer to that question, then I'd probably do it too. But yeah, I mean, I would say if you're looking for good ideas of things that people actually want to use so you can make money from, just ask people around you, like, what what do you wish you could do? Like, what things in your life do you wish could be automated or enhanced or somehow with, something on your phone or whatever, right? Think about what you do every day. Like, is there something you could build that would help you? Odds are, if you build something and it helps you, it'll probably help other people. So I think that's a good place to start, right? And then if you build it and nobody wants it, well, at least you build something cool that'll help you out, right? So you haven't lost everything, right? Bokarn says, "I came in late and just watched the beginning of the stream. I'm so excited to hear that, Jesse. That Jesse isn't looking for a job because he was fired. Jesse's awesome." Thank you so much, Bo. Yeah, I was not fired. I don't think I will end up being fired, so I was not. It was not fired. So this is of my own free will. Mad Duchess says, "Vitamin B works better than caffeine." Yeah, you're right. Actually, I think I do have some vitamin B pills at home, so maybe I'll just take that when I go home. Oh, okay. So then one of the names I couldn't pronounce is Siddharth, but it's written with like half in numbers. So okay, I kind of thought it might be something like that, but I was trying to limit how silly I sounded, so I just didn't try it. Thank you for telling me, though. And if I mispronounce anyone's name, please let me know how to pronounce it, and I'll do my best to remember that and pronounce it the right way every time. Himanshu says, "What to learn to start making websites?" HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. That's what you need. You learn those, you'll be good, and you can build anything with that. Delay B says, "What backend should I learn with React? There is no job with Node.js, and I don't want to do PHP." I don't know. I mean, if you can't find a job with Node, what else do people use for backends? Like Python. There's a whole area that uses like .NET framework with C Sharp. So I mean that, maybe that would be my advice. MD Baba says hello. Daily at what time the classes begin, and I want to learn from starting. How can I learn? You know what? I'm assuming you're talking about these live streams. We've been starting at such weird times, so I can't really say. It'd be nice if I get back on a normal schedule, but right now, just too many things are going on that I can't stick to a certain time. So, unfortunately, there is no set time right now. Shang Xiao says, many people use coding as an escape, as a way to find another route in their life. Hope whoever is doing it finds passion and luck along the way. Yeah, that's cool. Learning how to code definitely has helped a lot of people just, have a totally different lifestyle. A lot of times, for the better. Ilambala says, I strongly suggest Jonas at Udemy. I took many before him, and Jonas' advanced CSS course is the best that I've found. Thank you so much for that recommendation. So Jonas has an advanced CSS course on Udemy. Check that out. Rishav says, what are the prerequisites for learning React? JavaScript, for sure. I mean, HTML and CSS and JavaScript. If you know those, you're good to learn React. Sudar says, which languages are you comfortable with, and how did you start your journey as a web developer? JavaScript I'm most comfortable with. I know a little PHP, and I've done a little bit with Python before, with C Sharp, Java, C++. Like, I've done a little bit with a lot of stuff, but I'm only really confident with JavaScript and somewhat maybe confident with PHP. MD Baba says, please tell me I can contact with you. I want to learn. You can find me on like Twitter, and I think I have a link to my Twitter in the description. But I don't really do like courses or anything like that. So if you have any questions, I'll do my best to help out. But for right now, I'm not doing courses. Although that might be something that I might do at some point. Okay, Emiliano wants to know what other CSS framework do I recommend? I mean, I use mostly Material UI. I like that. If I'm not doing React, I use Materialize CSS. Sorry. So I haven't really used a lot of other frameworks. So I don't know that I can really give any good recommendations outside of those ones. Rishikesh says CodeIgniter or Laravel. As far as I know, CodeIgniter is pretty outdated. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I would probably go with Laravel if I were you. Those are both for PHP. Manu says, what should I learn before React? JavaScript, CSS, HTML. Swan says, why didn't you use serverless tech for your backend? Cloud Functions, Firebase. Yeah, I've thought about that, but it's something that I wasn't familiar enough with that I was confident in doing it in a project of this size. In this much importance. So the way we're doing it now, is for the most part we've tested out before, so I felt more confident in that. MIT says, make some series of Kali Linux tutorial. I've never used Kali Linux, so if I end up using it, maybe I'll do a series on it. Julio says, hello Jesse, you should use Saga or Redux Thunk. I have used Thunk before. I like it. I have not used Sagas before. Julia says, what do you think about Laravel? Is it a good to learn? Yeah, if you're gonna learn a PHP framework, from what my limited knowledge about it, I do recommend Laravel. I've heard good things about it. Shrey says, I'm currently working with ASP.NET and Microsoft SQL Server. Is the .NET framework losing its significance? What future do you imagine is in store for .NET framework? I don't really know. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of .NET framework, but I see there's a lot of new stuff happening with it. Even like Microsoft is really kind of changing the way it interacts with the developer community. So, I think it'll be around for a while just because of Microsoft, really. And there's so many companies that are already kind of entrenched in the whole .NET world. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. So if it can be, I think if the .NET world can be more integrated with the rest of like the JavaScript dev world, and take advantage of a lot of that stuff, I think it has a good shot at being relevant and being around for a long time. Sudar says, can I get JavaScript tutorials at freeCodeCamp? Yeah, there's a whole course on JavaScript on the freeCodeCamp.org website, but then also we have a ton of video tutorials as well on our YouTube channel. Andrew says, hey Jesse, site looks great. I saw on Instagram you're looking around for new opportunities. I'm sure you'll be picked up in no time. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Manu asks, what's the best procedure for learning React in a pro way? Online courses. I had to turn off my music. My headache's getting so terrible. So anything else? We're doing a project in that, but looking into documentation makes that kind of difficult. FreeCodeCamp has some React stuff now on freeCodeCamp.org. Wow. I need to take a nap. Yeah, so I would check that out. There's definitely a lot of good tutorial videos on React out there. So that might be a little bit easier than trying to read the documentation. Shrey says, I'm mostly just fixing bugs at work, small issues which arise out of changes / additions to the code base. Is this what developers do in the US? Yeah, but it depends. Some developers' main job is fixing bugs, it's maintenance. Other developers build new stuff and don't handle live products. So it just kind of depends. Juggernaut says, Jesse, if you could choose where you want to go, what is your dream? I don't even know. I don't know. I have to think about that. Yeah. And I guess there's there's different parts to that. So it's right now, I always got to think about my wife and family. It's not just where do I want to go that would be awesome. It's where could I go that would be the best for my kids, that would have good schools and things like that. So it's kind of a complicated question because I have to think about all those things. So yeah, so I'm not exactly sure. I mean, in terms of work though, I love working on cutting edge stuff, and I love working on things that would actually help people. Sadar says, I'm learning JavaScript, but I don't know where to implement that. I mean, I want to work on some projects. From where should I get one? Yeah, check out the FreeCodeCamp curriculum because they'll have a lot of sample projects where you'll be able to use JavaScript on. I would recommend that. That's a good place to start. Will it still be useful to learn jQuery in 2018? Yeah, you know what? There's still a lot of companies that use jQuery for their website, so knowing jQuery is still good. going forward, I expect probably the use of jQuery will go down because there are other things taking its place. So I don't know what the outlook is like for the future, but a lot of companies, depending on how big they are and what the industry is like, are very, very slow to change things. So there's still going to be jQuery jobs around for a long time just because of that. MIT says, what should I do so that people know me? Really sorry, I just can't quit yawning. So that people know me in the IT field. This is what happens when you try to give up caffeine, I guess. Get involved online. Like, I mean, as a developer, like Twitter is a huge thing. So I don't know if it's the same with IT stuff, but yeah, like get involved on Twitter. You know, follow the people that are the like leaders in your field. Like retweet their stuff, try to interact. That's a really good good way to go. If you can, like write articles, like tutorials, or do videos. Like I don't really write that much, but I like to do the videos. Volunteer to help people. Go to conferences. When you go to conferences, make sure you talk to as many people as you can. So all those things will help. Marlon says, have you ever noticed jankiness when your background loads for the first time with React? I get no lag when using the image tag, but when I switch to background image, it takes about 2 seconds to load. Yeah, sometimes when you use background image, you can have a little bit of jank, so try not to use it. Hold on 1 second. Hey.
Check this out, see if you want the photos.
All right, thank you. Cool. I just got handed a print brochure thing, and so I can check it out, see if I want to use any photos for the website, and then they will get me the photos. So that's kind of cool. So my team here is very helpful. Like the other people in this department are super helpful. Sorry, I was right in the middle, I think. Oh, the jankiness with the background image. Yeah, so using a CSS background image definitely takes it stresses out the browser more than using an image tag. So you want to be careful with that. Don't use it like a bunch on one page. Try to make sure your image is optimized. And if you have a ton of stuff going on a page, you maybe don't want to use it. Trying to do like parallax things like we're doing here, right, with our I don't even remember what it's called in CSS now. It's a property when you use a background image that makes it do that. So that can also cause some trouble. So if you disable that, you'll have a much better time of it. So if you notice, let's say like that the image isn't showing up first, it could be that like maybe you want to take that CSS and load it sooner, right? So if you have the CSS for that in a CSS file and it's waiting its turn to get loaded, then it's going to take a while. So what you can do, you can make that background CSS be inline in the HTML, and it'll load a lot more quickly. Or if you don't want to put it like right in the HTML tag, you could just take it and put a style tag at the head of your document and put that above all the other things that you want to load, like all your files you're bringing in. And that's kind of like a little trick to use for the stuff that's like users will see immediately. I mean, and then of course like the image size itself will definitely have an impact on how fast it loads too. Emiliano says coffee. Shrey says, how is work like for trainee software developers in the U.S. who are straight out of college in the first 6 months? I honestly have no idea because that's not the route I went. So I've never seen it. Oh, okay. So I got a pronunciation here. So Waweru. Let me know if that's the right pronunciation. Thank you so much for letting me know how to pronounce that. Jesse says, or Andrew says, Jesse, do companies use Create React app in production? I'm not I'm not sure. I mean, it's pretty commonly used, but I couldn't tell you right now like of a specific company that does use it. So I mean, I don't know. I imagine yes, but I definitely have to look that up. I wouldn't want to say for sure without checking. Sadar says, how's O'Reilly's JavaScript book for learning JavaScript? I want to have a handbook kind of thing for HTML, CSS so that I can memorize them. I don't know. I haven't checked out that book. So there's a JavaScript book called Eloquent JavaScript that's really good. And then there's a book series called You Don't Know JS that also is very good. So they're available online, but you can get them in print as well. So check those out. Sadar says, what can I do to memorize HTML and CSS3 tags and attributes? Just use them, right? I've never attempted to memorize them. Like, just use them, and if you code every day with them, you will remember them. So that, I think, is the best way to go about memorization, right? Because just look them up, and you will remember them, right? The annoyance of having to look them up will force you to memorize them, right? It's so much better to do it that way than to try to like sit down and read a list of them, right? You may as well be actually getting coding done while you're memorizing. Hopefully that makes sense. It's just like the best way to learn a language is to actually speak it, be immersed in it, you know, like a spoken language. I think that's the same way with a computer language, right? Just use it and look up what you need to until you don't need to look it up anymore. Java, Oracle, Python, which one do I have to learn for a job? You can get a job with any of them. It just depends on what you want to do. So just figure out what you want to do and then do a little bit of research on what companies are using what language, right? And then, you know, do a search, see how many jobs there are for that, and that should kind of tell you. Phoenix says, are you wearing red pants? Yeah, I'm wearing red pants, so I don't know if you can see. I'm wearing red pants, so. Yeah. They are, if anybody is interested in wearing the same red pants as me, you can find them. They're Bonobos is the brand, and they're Bonobos chinos. I don't know what exactly the color isn't called or anything like that, but they're nice pants. They fit well. Andrew said, Andrew was talking to somebody else. Juggernaut says, Jesse, you want to continue web development or you're looking for other endeavors like systems, games, etc.? I'm thinking I'll probably just continue with like React development because that's most likely what I'll be able to get a job in. But I'd definitely be open to other things. Like game development sounds fun. Anything that has to do with some like newer stuff like machine learning. Sounds really cool. You know, like VR or AR sounds awesome to work with. So I'm open to new opportunities. I just am not sure that I have the skill set to get hired in those positions right now. MD Baba says, I want to learn machine learning. How can I learn? Try out Udacity has some machine learning courses. I think they have some free ones. So try those out because I think they're pretty good. And see if you like it. And if you really like it and you want to do their paid courses, then those are available too. Julia says, well, I have to know object-oriented PHP in order to start learning Laravel. I don't know. I don't know enough about Laravel. So, sorry. Pars says, what is your view on Google versus Oracle? If you mean like the whole lawsuit that was going on between them, I think I side with Google in that lawsuit. So basically, like Google was so Oracle owns the language Java. Google was using Java in Android's operating system, and Oracle sued them, claiming that I think like Google owed them a bunch of money for using Java because they own Java. So it's kind of ridiculous. Like, if we start saying that companies can own programming languages, that's just crazy, right? To me, like, if that's how Oracle is going to do this, then people aren't going to use it anymore, right? So that's like probably an oversimplification of what's happening, and I could be wrong. So if I'm wrong, correct me, please. But I just think it sets a bad standard if you're going to allow Oracle to kind of win that case. Maniswar says, "Hi, what are the languages I should go for if I want to become an ethical hacker as well as get into Android development?" Java or Kotlin for Android development, and as a hacker, like, I mean, you just need whatever you're trying to hack. You need to know how that works. So, I would assume. Now, I'm not a hacker, so this is assumption. So don't take it as the way to go. But I would assume you would need to have more of a general knowledge of a lot of systems, and then you would need to like seriously do your homework on the particular system you're about to hack. Sidar says, "Is there any direct use of C language in web development?" In web development, not that I know of. I've never come across it, but it could be out there. What about C#? Yeah, C# is used in like .NET framework stuff, so I have come across that for the back end in web development. Limbala says, "Have you used React Native, and what do you think about it as a newbie learning React? I'm not sure if I should focus on progressive web apps with React or React Native." You learn React first, unless for some reason you really need to make a mobile app. I like React Native. I really like building things with React Native, and I hope that I can do more with it in the future. So, but I think if you're coming from knowing HTML and CSS and JavaScript, trying to get into the React world, it's an easier jump to learn regular React first than to go into React Native, because there's a few extra kind of things you have to think about when you're building for a mobile phone, right? To building a mobile app. Right, so it's a little bit easier if you're still doing things to the web. And a lot of what you learn in React will help you to learn React Native. Yeah, Limbala says, "I'm focusing on mobile apps for small business." Yeah, if you're focusing on mobile apps, then learn React Native first, because that's what you'll need. I know progressive web apps can be downloaded on the home screen, but a lot of people just don't get that yet. Don't realize that that's a thing. So probably you're going to have a better time of it, and a better time selling your services to small businesses if you use a mobile app. Saranj says, "Can I go for the React without the Node.js?" Yeah, for sure. You don't have to use Node.js for React. React can be used with any type of backend. We have another React versus Angular question. So I'm just gonna say it just depends on your project. There's no quick answer for React versus Angular. Marlon says, "Thanks for the help, Jesse. Going to try sorting this background jank out. By the way, how do you personally go about styling in React styled components?" I have used styled components before, but normally just use like CSS and JS. Sometimes I use normal style sheets. Sometimes I just do inline styles. I do a variety of things. I haven't decided on what I really want to stick with yet. Sidar says, "What are the steps to become a full stack web developer?" You could either start with the front or the back end. I started with front end, so I'll go over that. HTML, JavaScript, CSS. After that, then you start to learn more about back end stuff. So if you already know JavaScript, I recommend going with Node. Learn a little bit about Node, how to set up your server, your basic routing, maybe do some handling of form data, emails, things like that in Node. Learn about APIs, how to build APIs, how to use APIs, and branch out from there, right? And I mean, that's just the JavaScript ecosystem. So there's a whole other stuff if you want to get into other languages. And I'm sure, I mean, I'm leaving out a lot of stuff, right? So, but that's just the basic route you take. Limbala says, thanks so much for these so useful answers. I will be checking out your 200 plus other videos here. Yeah, if anybody ever manages to watch all of my videos, please let me know, because that would be, I mean, I've been around for all of them, but that's a lot of content, right? And apologies, because I'm sure I probably have some like weird, annoying things that I do, and having to suffer through all those are probably not the best. But Balaji says, is there any way to improve the speed access of websites much faster than regular scripts languages? Yeah, there's definitely a lot you can do. One of the biggest things that I always do going in, if people want me to improve speed, is check the image sizes. So many times it's that images are way too large. They're only showing a tiny image, but in reality the file is actually huge. Image compression. It could be even like, what's being loaded and when is it being loaded. Sometimes websites will have all this tracking stuff. So you got your analytics, and then you got your social media things that come in, and they just have way too much going on and don't realize how much it's impacting their site, right? If you use like some third-party things, sometimes they're bringing in whole libraries, like, and you don't even realize, like other versions of jQuery and stuff, just to do one tiny little thing. So like all of those things can definitely help out with speed. You can set up like a CDN, and that'll help the speed. So there's a lot of quick things you can do that don't really take that much time, but can have a huge impact on your site speed. I think I did a video once where we tried to take an old site and make it faster, or like a couple of videos. It'll be one of my early videos on freeCodeCamp, or it may be one of my videos I did on my own channel before I started doing freeCodeCamp. So I think there's a link to my channel in the description if you want to try to find it. I do have some videos on there as well. Sumit Bajra says, what do you think about Reason ML and Reason React? Reason seems really cool. When I went to React Rally, Ken Wheeler gave a talk about Reason, and that was the first time I really learned anything about Reason other than just hearing it. And it seems really awesome. I don't know enough about it to really give a good explanation of it, but it's something that I would be open to using in the future, and I think it could help me write better code. So I'm definitely I'm a fan of it, but a very new fan. Saranj says, does web development involve algorithms and data structure in JavaScript? Not really a lot. I mean, algorithms and stuff like that you need to know for job interviews, right? But in reality, you don't use them very much at all in day-to-day web development. So if you're not great with them, don't worry. You can still be a good web developer without being great at algorithms. Sadar says, thanks a lot for the answers. Going to watch your JavaScript tutorials. Awesome. Yeah, and check out on this channel, Bo Carnes does a ton of JavaScript tutorials that are awesome. Konstantin says, hey Jesse, how long did it take you to become a front end and land a first job? So I was a freelancer for a while, so maybe 3 years before I got this full-time job. So during that time, it's not like I was always looking for jobs. I was freelancing, right? So but I learned more and more as time progressed, and I picked up more clients and tried to do more challenging jobs. So it was a 3-year period of me slowly picking up new things, but working while I was doing it, and basically getting paid to learn. So I don't think it would always take, it certainly wouldn't take 3 years for most people, but because I was freelancing while I was doing it, I wasn't really actively looking for full-time, a full-time developer position. Sundar says, keep teaching us. And Balaji says, thanks for your knowledge. It is so useful. Oh, I appreciate you saying this. Efri says, hi Jesse, just watched the first 10 minutes of the streaming. I'm really sorry for what happened to you. Hashtag we're with you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Make tutorials on operating system programming. It's hard to learn. Yeah, I don't know anything about that. So I can only make a tutorial on things I know about. Saran says, thanks for guiding us through live videos and always up to live with Jesse. Mammy says, hello Jesse, you're a great teacher and I have learned a lot but still lost. I need help with JavaScript and learning the codes. And let me know. I'm about to end the stream now, but Mammy, get a hold of me on Twitter or something. You can always ask me a question on there as well. Manaswar says, how to get started in Android development. You could, if you want to just do Android and you don't want to do like React Native, then try to find some Android tutorials. You're probably going to end up using Java or Kotlin for that. Sardar says, what is Franciscan? Franciscan University of Steubenville is the college that I currently work for. Saran says, do you have experience with machine learning with JavaScript? Very, very little experience. Like, I've done some tutorials and watched videos on using Brain.js and TensorFlow JS. So I have some ideas for stuff I want to build, but I just haven't built anything yet. Ahmad says, after knowing JavaScript, which framework do you prefer, React or Angular? I prefer React, but I don't have a problem with Angular. I just work with React. All right, I'm going to end things now. I've been streaming for a while, and I think I've gotten so many messages. I keep seeing my phone going off, so I'm going to check these, and hopefully if there's nothing like major that I need to do at work, I'm gonna head home for the day and relax a little bit. Sadar says, you made the Franciscan website? Yes, I did. So the website you see back here, this is what we made. And live stream the whole process. All right, so I see a few more things coming up, but I'm gonna have to cut the stream off. There's so many great questions. I really enjoy this, but this could probably keep going forever. But I love all the questions. I love all like the interest and everything, and I'm gonna try to do another stream, when I can. And hopefully after I do my React training next week, I'll have a ton of new stuff to share with you about React. So I'm super excited about that, and I'll definitely let you know all the cool stuff that I learned. If anybody happens to be in the DC area, specifically in like Tyson's Corner, Virginia, around there, let me know. Maybe we can hang out next week or something. Yeah, so until next time, have a wonderful day, and thanks again.